talk to us a little bit about some of the exciting things that are happening in enterprise space.
Well, so the enterprise space is being disrupted from a bunch of different angles. Everybody's talking about big data, and you're seeing a lot of big data startups, and that's happening internally within the enterprise. And then on the edge of the enterprise, mobile is also transforming the enterprise space as well. What's super fun about the enterprise is it's the first time in almost a decade that CIO and IT budgets are expanding. So there's real ripe opportunity for startups to come in and capture that. And the enterprises are actually, there's a renaissance happening where enterprises are actually open to innovation where they haven't been in really over a decade. And everything that you're seeing happening on the consumer side is happening on the enterprise side in terms of disruptive companies coming up with very little capital, but it's even more so because everything that's become a service, all these hardcore infrastructure platforms that used to be bottlenecks to creating big companies are now very easily accessible for very little capital. So,
right.
So it is a super fun time.
And is the enterprise, in terms of if it were a baseball game, if a consumer space is in the 7th inning, 8th inning, who knows, it goes on forever.
Yeah.
Is the enterprise a few innings behind?
Yes, we're probably in the 3rd inning.
Okay.
And that's partly because I think the enterprise has, for the last 10 years, there has been this sort of frozen CIO budget mentality, but there have been a bunch of really bold and innovative enterprise companies that have popped up on the radar over the last couple of years that are changing everything. On the consumerization of IT, you're seeing Yammer, which got acquired by Microsoft for $1.2 billion, Box, which is now a multi-billion-dollar private company, are a couple examples on the enterprise side of companies that really have disrupted from non-traditional channels the enterprise space. And then you also have traditional enterprise companies like, I mean, quote unquote traditional, but you have companies like Splunk that are multi-billion-dollar IPOs that have also really changed how people are perceiving enterprise startups. And all of these are venture-backed startups that have become multi-billion-dollar companies, some of whom from very non-traditional sources. So the enterprise is super fun.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give in terms of, a lot of people ask for a tidbit of advice to would-be entrepreneurs, people who have an idea. How about some advice about things you wouldn't do or shouldn't do? What are some of the mistakes that you see people make?
They don't trust their gut enough. Okay, so this is, and maybe this is a little bit of what you should trust your gut, but what you should trust. I find that most entrepreneurs right now, there's this whole big fad of agile, fumbling towards victory. So you start something and then you pivot, and you'll pivot towards something with the hope that you're going to be fumbling towards success. I am actually not a big fan of that. I think that you should not be constantly pivoting in the hopes that you're going to just opportunistically hit upon success. Instead, I think the entrepreneurs that I think tend to succeed are the ones that are guided by a compass, which is their gut, which is a conviction, and they stick at that. And in the enterprise space, it's typically just an issue of timing, of figuring out how to solve your problem. But I would say, don't pivot too quickly, and generally stick with your conviction. If you are going to pivot, don't pivot because you're saying no to an idea. Only pivot because you're saying yes to a clear opportunity that presents itself. If you don't have a clear yes, as long check to see if you have conviction. And if you have conviction, I would stick with it. And not enough entrepreneurs do that. If you do that, generally it's easier to change the how than the what. The how you're selling the product, the business model, how are you going to make money. There's a lot more flexibility there than most entrepreneurs think about, versus changing fundamentally what the product is or what you're doing. And if you're passionate about the product, first try to figure out the monetization, because you can figure out models that will surprise you. Splunk is a good example. Splunk is log management. They manage log files, which is really boring stuff, but they managed to develop a business model which is absolutely phenomenal. And so I think entrepreneurs are pivoting too much.
TiECon 2013. What do you think about some of the opportunities for entrepreneurs to connect with capital here at a conference like this?
Ooh, with capital here, it's some of the best. I mean, the thing that's fun about connecting at TiECon is that there's a familiarity. That is nice, where a lot of titles and roles sort of get dropped, and you first connect on being who you are. So I think there's a lot of opportunities. I was just telling somebody that TiECon for me is like a little India. It's broad and deep. There's like you can get it's big. There's lots of stuff happening, and every little there's like all these different verticals, and each vertical is huge, and so there's a lot of opportunity at TiECon. If you know what you're trying to get out of it, you can come into the ocean, and there's tons of resources. So I would say TiECon's like a little India. You just have to know what you want, and everything's there. But know what you want.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it sounds like you guys are really busy, and we wish you the best of luck.
Okay.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.